So it's over to you, Mrs. Williams. Also point out that we will be streaming live on YouTube as well, and the YouTube link, we will share the YouTube link in a while, and Mr. Leamy has also shared the YouTube link. So if you're unable, if your students were not able to be present today, or you know of a colleague school that wasn't able to come, maybe they have exams or whatever it is, remind them that they can also access today's session on our YouTube channel. And so we're looking forward to your optimizing the time and making the best of it. Have a great day.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. So welcome again, everyone, to our Region 1 Mathematics Workshop for grade 6 students. Can you believe that we are already almost at the end of the first term for those of you who are in grade 6? So we want to thank you for joining us, teachers and students. As you can see posted on the monitor, you need a couple things for this workshop. You will need your mathematics workbook, you will need a pencil, and we ask that you come with an engaged mind, ready to participate and ready to learn. So we want you to share, use up the chat as much as possible. And when it's time for you to speak with us, we will allow you to unmute your mic. But first, you must use the raise hand feature. So let us get into today's presentation. All right, so I guess by now you would have these things that you so need. So here, for today's session, we will be planning a Heritage Week school trip. And we just had Heritage Day the other day. So here we're having a practice performance task that will allow you to interpret a skill, simple scale drawing, and calculate actual distances using the scale on a map. And for this session, we also hope that you will use up your knowledge of the 24-hour clock to solve real world scheduling problems. And we also hope for you to calculate the perimeter and area of regions shaped as rectangles. And finally, you should be able to compute with whole numbers using the 4 operations. So let's look at the introduction of this task. It says, the grade 6 students of Bridgeview Primary School in St. Catherine are planning a Heritage Week school trip to visit historical and cultural landmarks. They decided to visit National Heritage Trail and Devon House. As part of the trip planning committee, students must help to interpret the route on a road map, calculate distances using the map scale, plan arrival and departure times using the 24-hour clock, and make arrangements for refreshments. So you have a great task ahead of you, but guess what? It is doable. All right. So with your help, we're going to get this task done. So let's look at this. You are a member of the committee for the Bridgeview Primary Heritage Week school trip. Now, you're asked to use the provided roadmap of the trip route to complete the following activities. Now, I must say to you before we go any further that the performance task that we're doing here is a sample performance task. It is not necessarily what you will see on the exam, but we're using sample performance tasks just to guide you as to how the setup of the performance task might be. So questions at the different levels that will help you to think critically. That's what we'll be taking you through, which is a requirement for your performance task that you will do come 2026. All right, so again, let's look at the map here that's displayed on the screen. Now, first of all, before we do any working out, let's observe and see what information we can get from this map. You can type in the chat and tell us what bit of information you can get by just looking at it. What do you see? What is this map telling us? You can raise your hand if you wish to speak, as well as you can type in the chat. We're looking in the chat to see what bit of information you can get, as well as you may raise your hand. I'm giving you 5 seconds to do that, okay? I see perimeter. You'd have to tell me how you're going to get that. Okay, thank you for that. From Danny Williams, School for the Deaf. Say that again.
There's a raised hand from Norlene Williams. You may go ahead, Miss Williams.
Okay, that's Augusttown Primary School. Go right ahead and tell us what else you can get from the map provided. All right, so we're not hearing. Perhaps you could just type it in the chat. You can get it. Okay, all right. Thank you. We can get it.
1 centimeter is equal to 1 centimeter is equal to 5 kilometers.
Very good. And we call that the scale. So that's the scale. Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm happy to hear. So let's reveal. So there we can get distances on the map. We're seeing our 3 centimeters, we're seeing 8 centimeters, and so on. And you can also locate places. There are places displayed on the map. And finally, you can get a scale, or you can see the scale that you can use to guide you. And somebody from Augusttown pointed that out to us. All right, so let's run along. Let's get working now. Now, the first question that we have for you is for you to estimate the total distance on the map for the 2 routes from Bridgeview Primary to National Heritage Trail. Now, a question like this is very clear. It says, estimate the total distance on the map for the 2 routes. It's telling you that there are 2 routes. So there's no guessing that you need to do. So, are you ready? What do you think the total distance is from Bridgeview Primary to National Heritage Trail? Are we going to just begin to solve like that? What is it that we need to do? All right, so let's quickly take you through that. And then I'm going to ask you to go ahead and type. So we are moving from Bridgeview, and where do they want us to go? They want us to go to National Heritage Trail. So here we go, and notice it said 2 routes. So let's go from Bridgeview. We can actually go south and then go east to National Heritage Trail. Or we could go north and then go east and then go south down to National Heritage Trail.
50 centimeters. No, kilometers.
Please type your answers in the chat. All right. Thank you so much. So let's look at that. So the first thing I want to ask you, let's get back to that. Wait, please note, I heard some answers coming and I want them to be typed in the chat. Please note where Bridgeview is. So let's say we are going from this distance. We're going in this direction. Look at this. Here, I want you to pay close attention that from Bridgeview to this point on the map, that is a distance that we need to take into consideration. All right? And then we will go from there, we will go eastward and then south. But can I ask you this? Do we know what that distance is? Do we know what that distance is? And I see a number of answers in the chat. I'm not ready to reveal those as yet. So let me ask another question. Do we have what we actually need to discover what that distance is? I'm going to ask you a question. How can I ensure my estimate is good? What would you say that estimate is from the star that we have up to the corner? From here to here, we need to know that distance, and then When we're going on the other route, we also need to know the distance from Bridgeview, which is right here at the star, to here. Please note that this distance, the entire distance is 6 centimeters. So we have a bit of calculation. So I want somebody to tell me quickly, what is it that I could do to find out what that measurement is, that little part there going up as well as the section coming down. So what could this measurement be? What could I do to help me? Anybody can tell me quickly? Sign 5, I'm looking for a raised hand. What would you do in this case to find out this distance here? In 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So no raise hand. So we're warming up this. So let's go. So one thing that you could actually do is to insert equally spaced strokes as seen on a ruler. We're going to do that. So here we go. That's one of the things you want to be as accurate as possible. So we have gone ahead and we have displayed those strokes. And so we can now take our distance. Look at route 1. Route 1. Very good. We're seeing that from the point where Bridgeview is at, the corner here is 1 centimeter. Then we have this 3 centimeters here. And then all the way down, National Heritage Trail is actually 8 centimeters. And when we total that, we get 12 centimeters. Now, I noticed some answers in the chat, and I saw the answers given in kilometers. Remember, it says, what is the total distance on the map? This is what you need to pay attention to. The total distance on the map. So that's for route 1. Now let's get down to route 2. Anybody hope to work out for route 2 now? What's the total distance on the map for route 2? So let's calculate that. Look at that. What's that? Ooh, awesome. We are going from this point where Bridgeview is, and we could count. This is our starting point. And so from the red dot here to the first interval, we have 1 centimeters. Then to here, 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters, 4 centimeters, and 5 centimeters, which we have here in green. And then along here, we have we're going the full distance. And so we have our 4 centimeters, which we now put together, and we get 9 centimeters on the map. That is on the map. Now, some of you have gone ahead and you have calculated the actual distance, but can I say to you that you need to pay attention to the question that is asked? Now, question 2 is asking for the actual distance for the 2 routes from Bridgeview Primary to the National Heritage Trail. So again, I want to point out to you the setup of the performance task. Usually, you have later questions linked to earlier questions. And sometimes you have to go there to get an answer from a previous question to answer a follow-up question. So you need to pay attention to that. So anybody, we worked out the total distance on the map. Now we need to work out the actual distance. What are some of the things you need to consider? We're going to go through that. First thing, you need to consider the distance on the map, and those were worked out before on the previous slide. You also need to look at the scale on the map to see what is the scale given. And we have 1 centimeters on the map is equal to 5 kilometers on land. That's what it's really saying, okay? So it's a 1 centimeter to 5 kilometers. And so we're now looking at the routes taken. Any take for route 1, what's the actual distance for route 1? All right, okay, great. I see some answers in the chat already. For route 1, We just want root 1 distance. I want you to put in the chat, root 1, so many kilometers. Root 2, so many kilometers. And we will look at those. So I'm seeing a number of answers in the chat, and we're going to be looking at those in a short while. Do I see a raised hand from Augustown? Would you like to share? Or-
With 60
Go ahead.
kilometers.
Which route is 60 kilometers?
60 kilometers.
Which route? Is it
What
route
did you
1
say,
or
miss?
route?
Which route
Is it route 1 or route 2?
Route 1, miss.
What did you
Route
do
1
to
is
get?
60 kilometers.
Tell us what you did to get 60 kilometers.
Miss, I multiplied 12 by 5 by 12.
You multiply 5 by 12 or 12 by 5. And why did you do that again? Just tell us why.
Because the scale is 1 centimeter is equal to 5 kilometers.
Okay, and because that is the scale, what do we need to do?
Multiply what we got the distance in centimeters by the 5 kilometers.
All right, great. Thank you so much for that. And we are on the ball. So here we go, and we'll make the reveal for you. So the distance on the map for route 1, which we calculated, was 12 centimeters. And so for the actual distance, it is now 12 multiplied by the 5 kilometers. That 12 centimeters there, multiplied by 5 kilometers, and that gives us 60 kilometers. Quickly type in the chat, what is the distance on the map for route 2? Quickly. Awesome. I am seeing 45 kilometers from Venice Gordon, and I'm trying to see the name for that school, but I think it's Elliston Primary. And here we have Anelka also saying 45. So quickly we will make that reveal for you. All right. There we go. So we have got 9 centimeters. So the actual distance, we would now multiply that the actual distance on the map by 5, and that gives us 45 kilometers. Now here is the third question. Which is the quicker route to National Heritage Trail, and why? So type in the chat. If route 1 is a quicker route, say route 1 is quicker because, and give us your reason. So again, route 1, if it's the quicker, or route 2 is the quicker, and why. We'll give you a couple seconds to do that. Route 1 or route 2. I'm seeing route 2, but I want your why. Or you may unmute your microphone and we will allow you to speak when you raise your hand. Okay, once you raise your hand, so I'm seeing route 2. Let's see if you're correct with that. All right, so again, we must look at the routes. A reminder, first thing you need those distances from the previous question. As I've been saying, your performance task is set up that way, where one question, you perhaps have to go back to an earlier question to get the answer. So let's go quickly. So we're seeing, and we can see it clearly. So if you give answers like these, route 2 is quicker since 45 kilometers is shorter than route 1, which is 60 kilometers. That's perfect. But what we want to say to you, questions like these that ask you to give an explanation or to state why, you must make some connection to the two things that you're talking about. Make some connection, make some comparison, but you can't just leave it hanging in the air by just giving the flat answer. You must explain. So here we have one way in which you can do it. A second way you could put it is route 2 because it is 15 kilometers shorter
I agree with you.
than
Route 2 is the best.
60 meters. And we could say route 2 since 45 kilometers is less than 60 kilometers. And any of these answers are fine. Okay, let's go to question 4. Calculate. So we have been calculating, and we have noticed that we need to pay attention to terms such as distance on the map and actual distance. So when we talk about distance on the map, yes, we want to see what unit should our answers be when we talk about distance on the map. Put that in the chat quickly. When you see distance on the map, what unit would our answer be in? All right, I'm seeing centimeters in the chat. Excellent. And when we talk about actual distance, what unit of measure would that be in? All right. And I'm seeing Ken Carthy primary saying kilometers, and you're right on spot with that. Now, what is the actual distance from National Heritage Trail to Devon House? I saw some answers coming up in the chat. I see 40 kilometers. I don't know yet. And we have to find that out. Look at where we're going. We're looking for actual distance. And it says from National Heritage Trail to Devon House. But we need to pay attention here that Devon House does not go the full length of this journey that's seen here. This distance here is 8 centimeters. So we need to calculate the distance from National Heritage Trail to this point that Devon House is at. So let's go. All right, so distance on the map, that's the first thing. And when you work and label your answers like this, it helps you to see where you're going, and it helps you to check to ensure that you have everything. So that's the first thing. We must calculate the distance on the map. Now, earlier, we had distances from Bridgeview all the way to National Heritage Trail, and we put in scales to help us because it did not go the full distance on that side of the map. And we're going to do the same for Devon House. So there is Devon House, and that's where we're going. The blue arrow is showing you that. We're going to be putting in the scales to help us calculate the distance from National Heritage Trail all the way up to Devon House. Remember, you must have your starting point. So this is our point 0. So when we go to the first bar here, that's now 1. So from point 0 here, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 centimeters. So the distance on the map for Devon House is actually 6 centimeters. However, we were asked for the actual distance. And so the actual distance would now, what would we do to get the actual distance? I'm coming to the chat to find that out. Awesome. All right, I am seeing the answer there. I wish some of you could rename your device so we can know the schools that you're from. And I'm seeing 6 centimeters multiplied by 5 to give us 30 centimeters. Somebody who is saying 40 kilometers. Let's look at that. I want you to remember that the actual distance for this side of the map is 8 centimeters, but Devon House does not go all the way. Here is the point at which Devon House is at. And so you need that distance in order to calculate the distance from National Heritage Trail to Devon House. Devon House, again, does not go all the way to the top. It's somewhere here, about 3/4 point of the journey. And it's important that you pay attention to that and make your estimate. And we gave you earlier, we gave you a way to make those estimates by putting in dots on or something like a scale or interval that's on your ruler to help you identify what length or of the distance Devon House is. And so here we have it. This is our starting point. We put in equal intervals and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them just divide the length equally. However, when we get to Devon House, it is showing us that it is actually 6 centimeters. And so the actual distance would be 6 multiplied by 5 to give us 30 kilometers. So using the scale on the map, that tells us that 1 centimeter is equivalent to 5 kilometers on land. And there we have it, 30. Now, can you do this one for me? Look at this. You need to pay close attention to it. It says, calculate the actual distance. This one has a little boundary in it, or what we call parameter. Calculate the actual distance in kilometers from Bridgeview Primary to Devon House if the students plan to stop at National Heritage Trail first. So, question. What is the journey that they're going to take? What are they going to be doing along this journey here based on the parameter? Anybody wants to share? You can use your raise hand. So while persons are calculating the distance on the map, you can actually raise your hand to talk with me and let me know what is this question saying to us when it says we are going to Devon House, but the students plan to stop at National Heritage Trail first. Any raise hand? I see Edward Siago Primary with a raise hand. Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
It's 30 kilometers.
Or you're telling me the answer. Tell me how you got 30 kilometers. Tell us the calculation.
20.
How did you get 20? Just tell me from where to where. From the school, Bridgeview Primary to so and so. We want conversation like that.
If you times 6 by 5, you get 30, and if you times 4 by 5, you get 20, and if you add them together, you get 50 kilometers.
All right. Notice you said if I times 6 by 5, I get 30. But is that correct? Is that correct? That's the thing. Remember, we pointed out earlier, and I want you to pay close attention, children. Remember, you must pay attention to where the school is. This entire distance is 6 centimeters. But this red dot shows where Bridgeview Primary is. And so it does not go the entire 6 centimeters. So you must come up with a way to estimate the distance from this dot where Bridgeview is to this corner where we have another point. And that's really showing you where the 6 centimeters would end. So I'm going to take you through it again slowly. All right? So let's go. Here we have it. Pay attention. Bridgeview. So here we must know the actual distance on the map first, and then we must know the distance on the map, and we must use our scale to help us. So here again, we have put in those scales. Come on. This is the reason why we're here, to let you know that as grade 6 students, the Ministry of Education expects you to think critically. You have passed the stage where you just put down what you see without thinking about it. Come on, we want you to go a little deeper than that. So we have worked it out. If you can, let's look at the distance on the map. So from Bridgeview down, we're going southward. From Bridgeview, our starting point, we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 5 centimeters, and that's the first thing. And then along here we have 4 centimeters. So from Bridgeview to National Heritage Trail, that is actually 9. So let's work that out. So here we go, and there and again we have to pay attention to Devon House. Where Devon House is from National Heritage Trail, it does not go the entire length of the trail here or this side of the map. It stops at a point. So again, we are putting in pointers to let you know that although this side of the map tells you that it's 8 centimeters, cutting it or parting it in 8 equal parts will help us to know at what distance Devon House is from the National Heritage Trails. Here we have it, our 0 point here, our 0 mark, our starting point, and we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So from National Heritage Trail to Devon House would be 6. So we're going from Bridgeview down to the corner. We have 5 centimeters. This length eastward is 4 centimeters, and from National Heritage Trail to Devon House is 6 centimeters, and that's 15 centimeters on the map. But the question asks for the actual distance. Have we calculated the actual distance? What do we need to do to get the actual distance? I'm coming over in the chat to see what is there. I'm seeing 6 plus 4. Again, remember, we can't say Bridgeview Primary down to the corner there is 6 because here is a part that's left off. So you please look back at that calculation. And then we have the 4 centimeters here. And for here, we have 6 centimeters. So boys and girls, I want you to get that. Teachers, let's guide them as you're there also in the space. So get the actual distance on the map. We will now say 15 centimeters multiplied by 5, and that would give us 75 kilometers. So for some persons, you would have gotten it correct, and some persons you still need to pay attention to those intervals that will help you to calculate. Now we're moving on to managing the time well. So the school, you have been traveling, and the students have been traveling from different historical sites to landmarks. Now let's look at the times that they will arrive at these landmarks. So let's go. It says here for part B, the bus will leave Bridgeview Primary at 7:30 hours. And our reason for writing the time like that is because we're using the 24-hour clock. They estimate that they will take 2 minutes to travel 1 kilometer. Now use this estimated speed, the map, and your answers from part A, questions 3 and 4 to complete the table. So let me hear from you. Do you remember the distance from Bridgeview Primary to National Heritage Trail? You should have written that down in your book. Let's see if you can remind me of the distance from Bridgeview Primary to National Heritage Trail. Anybody remember that distance? So again, okay. We are seeing Edward Seaga Primary telling us that the distance was 12 centimeters on the map. What was the actual distance though? What was the actual distance? And I'm seeing Pembroke Hall saying 9 centimeters. Let's remind you, boys and girls, I want you to pay close attention. Remember, there are some key things that you have to zoom in on. You can't let these miss you. It's asking you to put in the actual distance. You would have calculated the actual distance already for Bridgeview or from Bridgeview Primary to National Heritage Trail, which I'm going to remind you of. We calculated the actual distance to be 45 kilometers. So for those of you who wrote 12 centimeters and 9 and so on, please remember the difference between actual distance and distance on the map. So to get the estimated time, anybody can tell me what is the estimated time for 45 kilometers. So if we go back to the question, not going to just leave it like that. So let's go back to the question. Let me escape that a little. So go back to the question, and it is telling us that there is an estimated 2 minutes to travel 1 kilometer. So what would be the estimated time travel for 45 kilometers? I'm coming in the chat to find that out, and you have to tell me how you get that answer. 2 minutes for each kilometer. I am seeing Edward Siago with 50 minutes. I'm seeing Ellison Primary with 90 minutes. Maisha Harris, I would love for you to type your school name so we can call your school's name. And I'm seeing 90 minutes from Maisha. Not sure which school she is from. But let's make the reveal. So if the distance traveled, or the estimated distance traveled is 2 minutes per kilometer, it means 1 kilometer equal 2 minutes. 2 kilometers would be, come on, 2 kilometers would be 4 minutes, and 3 kilometers would be 6 minutes. And so we're seeing that we're multiplying the kilometers by 2 each time. So we now multiply by 45 by 2, and that gives us 90 minutes. For Devon House, it was 30 kilometers. What's the estimated time? Quickly type that in the chat. Quickly type that in the chat. Let's see which school will come in with the answer first. Devon House, the actual distance is 30 kilometers. What is the time? Ellison Primary is out of the blocks first. Danny Williams for the deaf, Danny Williams School for the Deaf is also saying 90 minutes. And I love what, let's go back up here. Johnson Shirley, wish you could type your school's name. Gave it in 2 ways, 90 minutes or 1 hour, 30 minutes. And Coburn Gardens come in, Augustown Primary and George Edley Primary, 60 minutes. Awesome, I love that, I love that. So let's reveal. So that would be 30 multiplied by 2. And boys and girls, we want to encourage you to show every bit of your working, every step of the way. You actually gain marks for showing how you arrive at the answer. We want to encourage you to do that. But look at this, you're now asked to find the distance and the estimated time for Devon House from Bridgeview Primary. We did not calculate this one. Guess what? You've got this, boys and girls. We have been calculating actual distances on the map. So what is the actual distance for Devon House? Devon House. So from Devon House to Bridgeview Primary, what is the actual distance? Who can come away with that answer? I want to see the actual distance. That's what's going to help us to know the estimated time. I'm coming in quickly. What is the actual distance? I see a raise hand from Edward Primary. Edward Siago Primary School. What's your answer? What is the actual distance? And then you can give us the estimated time. Go ahead, Edward Siago Primary.
Miss, it is 40 kilometers.
How did you get 40 kilometers? Tell us how you got 40 kilometers. All right. Go ahead.
I counted 8 and then I times 8 by 5 and I got 40.
From where did you count 8? We want to know that. So Hagley Park Prep, we're seeing your calculation there. 75 kilometers multiplied by
Miss,
2.
we started count from the strips.
Okay, you count. All right, let's find that out. Let's take you there. Let's take you there. We are calculating the distance from Devon House to to Bridgeview Primary. Let's go. Devon House, Bridgeview Primary. Now remember, the children would have gone to school, left from school, and then they would have first made their stop to National Heritage Trail, and then up to Devon House. Now we're moving from Devon House back to school. So let's look at that calculation. Please notice the dot where Devon House is, which will be revealed. So here we have it. So let's go. Here we have the distance for Devon House. Devon House is right smacked in the corner there. And we have, those are the distances. The red arrows are showing you where we are going from Devon House to Bridgeview Primary. Here, let's count again. I want you to keep your eyes on the monitor. Where Devon House is, this is our starting point, and we're going 2 centimeters to the corner here. When we get to the corner, we're going to make a westward turn, which tells us that this entire distance is 3 centimeters. So that's now 2 centimeters at the corner from Devon House, the corner here, and 3 making 5 centimeters. And then from this corner down to where the school is 1 centimeter, as we would have calculated before. So that's 6 centimeters. Did anyone get that one right? Let's make the reveal. So the actual distance would be 6. That's 6 centimeters multiplied by 5, giving us 30 kilometers. And when we calculate the estimated time, we know what that is. It's similar to the distance from National Heritage Trail to Devon House. 30 multiplied by 2 give us 60 minutes. Awesome. So let's run along. Wow, boys and girls, I want you to know we're not just seeking to get answers here. We want to take you through this task timely, very timely, and not only that, but also paying attention to details. Now, question 2 of part B says, if the students will spend 1.5 hours at National Heritage Trail, 2.5 hours at Devon House, then you're asked to determine the arrival time at Devon House and the time they would return to school, and you're to write your answers in 24-hour format. What do we need in order to calculate the times that the children will arrive at these places? So again, if they will spend 1.5 hours at National Heritage Trail and 2.5 hours at Devon House, determine the arrival time at Devon House and the time they would return to school. Remember, I said to you earlier, children, it is very important that as you work, you write your labels down. All right, so label your answers and see what that would be. All right, so I didn't ask anyone to share as yet. All right, so we must take a couple things into consideration. Is there anybody who is ready now to share? Is there anybody else who would share? Anyone wants to share how what time they would arrive at Devon House and tell us how you got that answer? Anybody? All right. we're going to go right through because we want to cover as much as we can in this time. So things you need to consider. You must look at the time taken to travel to National Heritage Trail, or the Heritage Trail as we have it here, which we have on the map here, 90 minutes. Then you must look at the time spent at the Heritage Trail, which is 1.5 hours. And as I think it was trying to remember, Hagley Park Prep that actually put 90 minutes equal 1 hour, 30 minutes. And we have it on the table also, as you can see. The time spent there and also the travel time to Devon House, which is 60 minutes. Now, when you put all of those together, and that's how we're going to get the time, right? Help us to know what to add to their leave out time. So we add the 90 minutes plus the 90 minutes taken to travel to the Heritage Trail, the 90 minutes that they spent at the Heritage Trail, and the 60 minutes that they took to travel to Devon House. When we add those, we got 240 minutes. But we want this to be in hours to help us calculate the time. And so, should not have made that reveal. I should have asked you. Now, 240 minutes, we would now divide that by 60 and to get 4 hours. And why do we divide by 60? We divide it by 60 because 60 minutes make 1 hour. And so we have it, hours. Now with that, who can tell me the time that they actually arrived at Devon House? Let's see if you can use that information that's given. So again, nicely put, we help you to see how you can calculate your time, the time of arrival at Devon House. And we would have taken into consideration the time taken from Bridgeview Primary to travel to Heritage Trail, which is 90 minutes. The time they spent at the Heritage Trail, and the time taken to travel to Devon House, 60 minutes, and together we get 4 hours. What's the actual time? Come on. How do we get that? Anybody? All right. I'm seeing an answer in the chat here from Mona Prep. Mona Prep says 11:30 hours. And you are right on spot with that. So let's go. We have arrival time at Devon House. Since they left school at 7:30 hours, we add that 4 hours to it, and that gives us 11:30 hours. Now, it's for you to tell us if you can calculate the time they return to school now. Let's see how you will do that quickly. So George Headley Primary got that correct also. All right. So as you're working, I see Mona coming in with the answer already, you know, what time they reach school. We're going to just look at it. Persons, try and do your work and send it in quickly. Do your work, your calculation in your notebook, and you just type your answer in the chat. But while you're working that out, we want to remind you that if you find us late, you can actually go back and view this presentation on our YouTube channel, and the link will be posted in the chat later. And we do know that some of our colleagues are having internet challenges, and we have taken that into consideration, and we're going to make life easy for you. This presentation will be posted. So let's move on to the part B of the question. What time will the group return to school? Let's see. I saw some answers in the chat. I didn't say if you're correct or not, but I'm seeing different answers in the chat. Which one is correct? Let's find out. So remember, we have already calculated the time that they would have arrived at Devon House. So in order for them to get back to school, there are some things that we need to take into consideration. What do we need to take into consideration in order to calculate what time they arrive at school? I'm seeing Edward Siaga Primary with a raised hand. Do you want to answer this question? If so, open your microphone and go ahead. So I am seeing answers from Pembroke Hall. I'm seeing answers from George Headley Primary. And I'm seeing answers from Harborview Primary. And as I said earlier, Mona Prep. So I'm seeing the raise hand. Go ahead. My tech person, could you allow perhaps Michael Watts to answer what are the things that he will take into consideration to work out the time that they would arrive at school? Go ahead now, share with us.
So the answer is 15:30 because so what we have to do first when we have the when we have the 11:30 that we get to Devon House, we have to add so you have to add the one sec.
All right, waiting on you. Is there anybody else who is ready as yet? You're ready and you want to speak? All right, so I'm giving you another 7 seconds to
Somebody
come
has
up.
a hand raised.
All right, so while we're waiting, let's hear it
I
from
have it, I
Ellison
have it, I have
Primary.
it.
You have
So-
it? All right, finish up your conversation.
So we reached to Devon House at 11:30 and we stayed there for 2.5 hours, which means that we would leave Devon House at 3 o'clock. No, we would leave Devon House 2:30 at 2:30, which is 14:30. And then so we have to add the 60 minutes, which is 1 hour, since that's how long it takes to get back to Bridgeview Primary, which then would be 15:30.
All right, so you have the reasoning correct, but there's a little hiccup with your time. So let's look at the time again. We arrive at Devon House at 11:30, right? How long did they stay at Devon House for? All right, so you're muted. But Ellison Primary, let's give one more school a chance to try. Ellison Primary, go ahead.
Hours.
What time would they arrive at school? Tell us how you arrive at your answer.
3 o'clock, sir. Miss.
Okay, tell us how you got 3 o'clock.
1:50.
1:50? Yes, explain to me how you arrive at your answer.
I calculate 2 hours. 2.5 hours.
Plus 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and after you calculated 2.5 hours, what did you do with it?
60 minutes.
You didn't tell me what you did with the 2.5 hours. What did you do with the 2.5 hours?
One.
All right, so while she is working on that, very good conversation going on here. So we look at the arrival time, which you told me that you would take into consideration the arrival time at Devon House. You would also look at the time spent at Devon House, which is 2.5 hours. But what time would that be? And I think it was Mona Prep earlier who told us that they worked that out and you gave your answers nicely in the 24-hour clock. So 11:30 plus 2.5 hours. First, I would add the half an hour to the 11:30, which would take me to 1200 hours or 12 o'clock. And then I have 2 hours to add to that. And in the 24-hour clock, we don't start over, we just continue. So I'm at 11:30 plus 30 minutes, 12 o'clock. And then we would go from 12 to 1300 hours. And then from 1300 hours to 1400 hours. So altogether, they 11:30 plus 2.5 hours give me 1400 hours. So that's the time they would be leaving Devon House. And we know that it took 60 minutes from Devon House to arrive at Bridgeview, which is 1 hour. So 1400 hours plus another 100 gives us 1500 hours. And that's how we do our additions. If you want to write your times like this, fine. 11:30 plus 2.5 hours, which is 2 hours 30 minutes, plus 1 hour, which is 1 hour 0 minutes. When you add, we actually get 30 plus 30, giving us 60 minutes. But is that how we do that? We need to do some calculation there. So we knew before that 60 minutes equal 1 hour. So we're going to use that to ensure that we have the correct time. So we're going to convert this 60 minutes to 1 hour. We have 1 hour to take to the hour side, leaving us with 0 minutes. And when we add 11 plus 1, we get 12. 12 plus 2 gives us 14 rather, and 14 plus 1 gives us 15. So we have 1500 hours. And that would be the time that they will return to school. 1500 hours. I saw a lot of answers in the chat. And I saw persons giving me the answer in the 12-hour clock. We asked for the 24-hour clock. And so this is how you would write your answer as shown on the screen here. So you have, I want to tell you to take careful. You can't come so close to getting the answer and then you add the times incorrectly. No, we cannot afford for that to happen. So you can add them in chunks. Another way that you could actually do it, you could use a timeline. So here on this timeline, we would account for when they left Bridgeview Primary. This BP here means Bridgeview Primary. They would have left school at 7:30. Then it took them 90 minutes to get to Heritage Park or Heritage Trail, National Heritage Trail, which is 1.5 hours. And then when we add that now tells us that's 9 o'clock. And then they would now leave the National Heritage Trail at 9. And they would, before they leave, they would spend 1.5 hours, which is 90 minutes. And when we add that 1.5 hour to 900 hours, we get 1,030 hours. And that's when they would actually leave National Heritage Trail. Now, on the way to Devon House, it took them all of 60 minutes. Let's add 60 minutes to 10:30. That would give us 11:30. And so they arrive at Devon House at 11:30. This makes it so easy. The timeline, you can see the step of the journey, and you can actually go back to where you start and see if you're calculating correctly. Now, while they're at Devon House, they spent 2.5 hours. And if we count in half an hour interval, and I would encourage you to do that, add the half an hour first, 30 minutes, so 1130 would give us 1200, and then you add the 2 hours, which would now give us 1400. And here we have it. So they would arrive at Devon House at 1400, and then they would leave. Sorry, not arrive. They would spend the 2.5 hours, which take them up to 1400 hours at Devon House. Then they would leave there at that time and take 6 minutes, which now is an hour, and they return to school at 1500 hours. I am now you're going to go on to part C, where it gets more interesting, and Miss Harris is coming at this time to take you through the rest of the presentation. And you have been doing well so far. We ask you to keep the participation going. Go ahead, Miss Harris.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Williams. I'm really happy for the participation so far. And one of the things, if you're going to just sort of adding this, Mrs. Williams, if you choose to use your timeline, you have to decide on how you're going to divide your timeline. If you notice, this one is divided into half hour. You might have chosen to do it into 1 hour intervals or 15 minutes, but you will decide how you're breaking up your timeline, so it would help you to decide on the times that you would arrive or leave or the duration. So just remember that you can model your time this way as well. Moving into part C. Now for part C, they're ready now to set up the refreshment area. So when they get to Devon House, the class will set up a rectangular refreshment tent on the grass section that has dimensions 10 meters by 8 meters. So I'd like for persons to tell me how they would label the diagram. I'd like persons to tell me where they'd put the 8 and where they'd put the 10 and why. Where would you put the 8? Would you put it at the top, to the right? Where would you put it? Type in the chat for me where you'd put your 10 and where you'd put your 8. So you might say 10 right, 8 left, or whatever it might be. Use your position words and tell me where you'd put the 10 meters and where you'd put the 8 meters. Type in the chat for me, please, or raise your hand, whichever one. Where would we put our 10 meters? Where would we put our 8 meters?
Hold on the direction
That's
again,
so
Miss.
quiet. Let's keep that energy going. Where would I put my 8? Where would I put my 10? And why would I choose those positions? It would go to the right. Thank you for that Pembroke Hall. Where would the 10 go, Miss Mona Prep Michael Watts? Where would the 10 go? Right or to the top? Where would it go?
Or the side.
It is to the right. I agree with Pembroke Hall on that.
The
It's definitely to the right. And where would that 10 go? Would it go to the top, to the right, left? Where would that 10 go? Let's use our position words.
But it would go at the top.
The 10 would go to the top. Thank you very much for those position words. 10 goes to the top and it goes to the right. So we can label out that. How did you know the 8 would go to the right? Why did you put the 8 to the right, Pembroke Hall? Why did the 8 go to the right? What about the diagram told you that the 8 should go to the right?
Because the longest side is always the length is always the longest side. So the
All right,
10
so
and the 8 would be the width.
all right, so I didn't go into the length and the width per se, but which number is larger?
10.
The 10. And so the 10 being the larger number must go to the longer side. So even if we won't go into the technicality of which is length and which is width, but we know that the 10 meter would be the longer side. And so I'd have to put my 10 on the side of the diagram that is longer. So that's right, 10 to the top, 8 to the right. Great. So you've labeled your diagram and make sure to put in your units. You can't be doing measurement without units. So we put in our units. Our next question asks us, what's the next question it asks us for now? It then asks us to calculate the perimeter of the grass section where the tent will be placed. I'm seeing somebody put it, so how would I find the perimeter? I'm asked for the perimeter now. Watch out for our units. I'm now looking at the grass area in meters. So I'm seeing an answer. How did I arrive at 36 meters? Remember, working must be clearly shown. So let's look at it. I'm seeing 36 meters, lots of 36 meters from Excelsior, Mona Prep, Praise Tabernacle, lots of persons. But in mathematics, unless you're just asked to write, you need to put your, very good, I'm seeing half of you at least putting in some numbers. We're adding 10 meters plus 10 meters and so on. So we're gonna add all our lengths because perimeter is asking us for the distance along the boundary. It's asking us for the distance along the boundary. So we're going along the boundary of the diagram above the grass area, grass section. So we're going to have a perimeter of, we're adding 10 plus 10 plus 8, 10 meters rather, plus 10 meters, plus 8 meters, plus 8 meters, giving us a total of 36 meters. So you were correct with that number, but I would have loved to see how we got it. And so I'm seeing the additions, the details of the addition coming out, and that's much better. Great. Now, there's another way we could have written it, and some of you might have done it that way. Here's another way we could have written it. We could have written it by using the sum of two products, okay? Let's look at the other way we could have written it. We could have also written it this way. We could have written the perimeters equal to 2 times the 10 because I have 2 10-meter lengths, one at the top, one at the bottom. And then to that, I'm going to add 2 8-meter lengths, one to the left and one to the right. So both presentations are perfectly fine. What is important is that I show that I'm totaling and finding the sum of all 4 lengths. Beautiful. So our perimeter is 36 meters. Great. Now, the next part of my question asks, how much space on the grass will the tent cover? How much space on the grass will the tent cover? What is that asking me for? What is that asking me for? What math concept am I being asked to find here? See, 80 area, what does 80 area mean? It's asking me for area because I'm asked to find the surface, the amount of space that is covered. Very good. It's asking me for the surface, the amount of covering that the amount of space that I'm gonna cover with the tent. So that means I'm looking at area. Very good. So that would mean I'm multiplying the 10 meters by the 8 meters, product of the two set lengths, giving me 8 square meters. 8 square meters. Beautiful.
And Miss Harris, before you move on, may I please?
Go ahead, Miss.
I have seen a number of 80 in the chat, but I've not
With no
seen.
units.
I've seen where George Headley put in 80 meters squared, and not sure which school is from the device TCL, but that one, and for a number of them put in the 80 meters, leaving out the square unit. So boys and girls, we want you to pay close attention to what you're asked for. You're finding the attribute area. And so when you talk about area, you need that square meters. And I've seen a number coming in with the square meter, as I said, and some without. That's just a reminder. Continue.
Thank you for that, Miss. Thank you very much for that. Very important. As good mathematics students, one of your key qualities is that you attend to precision. That's an important math practice for a good math student. You attend to precision, and your units are important for that precision. That's an important math practice for all good math students. So we found our perimeter of the rectangular space for the refreshments. So we found the area, we found the perimeter. So the tent is going to cover 80 square meters, and the perimeter of that tent section is going to be 36. Now let's look at the drink. All right, so now we have each of the 83 students and 7 adults is to be served a 350 milliliter cup of drink. The table below shows the cost of drinks. So we have 2 options. We have the bay juices, and we can get drink from cordial. How many persons know about cordial? You might know about cordial. Cordial is you make a concentrated drink and you can make the drink, you can dilute it and make more drinks. So the cordial is another way we can make the drink. So you can get bay juices already in bottles, or you can mix your own drink in the igloo using a cordial. And so you have shown the prices or the costs for the drinks. The bay juices cost $1,100 for a 3.8 liter bottle, while the cordial, you have different sizes. You have a 3.8 liter bottle that costs $3,000. That bottle of cordial can fill that 19 liter igloo. You also have a 1 liter bottle of cordial that costs $800, and that will make 5 liters of drink. Okay, so I have 2 options. I can get the already bottled juices, the already 3.8 liter bottle juices, or I can mix my drink using a cordial. Now, as part of the planning committee, you're now being asked, what would be your choice of drinks for the entire group? And you're to justify your choice using calculations. So let's go into this part of our task. Beautiful. So let's go. So they've told us that there are how many, we have a number of persons, each person is to get. So how much drink will I need? How will I find out the amount of drink that I need? Who would like to share that with us? How would I find out the amount of drink I need to give all 90 persons? What would I need to do to find that out? What operation? Because one of the things we found is that our students are not clear as to what arithmetic operation they should use in order to arrive at their answer. So I'm asking my students who I know are thinking, what operation would I use and how would I determine the amount of drink for all 90 persons? Can someone raise their hand or type in the chat how I would find out amount of drink needed to serve all 90 persons. Let me see a raised hand or a typing in the chat. What we would do to find out the total of all the drink needed to serve all 90 persons. How would I find that out? The takers? The one from Mona Prep, Prep.
90 times 350.
Go ahead, New Day. How did you find that out? What would you do, New Day, to collect the amount for everybody? Listening out for your New Day. Go right ahead. I saw your hand raised.
You add 83 plus 7 and you get 90, and then you times 9 times 50 and you get 31,500.
Okay. Thank you for that, New Day. And can I tell you that's exactly what we did? So let's look at that together. So we times 90 because there are 90 persons that each person should get. So, all right. So somebody's already telling me which one is cheaper. Wow, you're moving very fast. So the amount of drink needed to serve the entire group would be 31,500. Excellent. All right, very good. So we've gotten that. So everybody's on the same page with that one. So we have an amount of drinks. So I won't say if I agree or disagree with Praise Tabernacle just yet. So we have amount of drink needed to serve the entire group being 31,500 milliliters. Great stuff. All right. So now they're asking us to make a choice. If you're going to make a choice, boys and girls, you have to see what one costs, what the other costs. You have to compare those two costs, see whether one is less or more, whichever it is, and then you make a decision. So now we've multiplied and found out what is the total amount of drink needed. So let's start with the bay juices. How many bay juices will I need? How many 3.8 liter bottles will I need? Let's look at that. How will I find out how many 3.8 liter bottles I will need? I'm seeing, is that multiplier telling me how I'd find out the number of bottles needed? What would I be multiplying? Raquel Robinson School. I'm not too sure which school it is. You could say, what would I be multiplying and why am I multiplying? What am I trying to find when I do that multiplication? Raquel Robinson School, you may go ahead. Which school is it, ma'am, Miss Robinson or Mrs. Robinson? I would need to divide. Praise Tabernacle is telling me that I would need to divide. What would I need to divide? And why am I dividing? What am I finding when I'm dividing? I'm trying to find out. We're working with the bay juices first. Tell me about the bay juices. What would I need to do with that? You are dividing because you are turning the milliliters to liters. Okay. So I'm turning the milliliters to liters. All right. All right. All right then. So I'm seeing 31.5 liters is needed to serve everyone, which means the best choice will be the cordial drink that can fill a 19-liter igloo. And that's what George Headley Primary. All right, so I've seen persons coming to, I haven't seen any calculations yet. That persons are making decisions already. Remember, you have to justify using calculations. We can't just give them words. We have to show our working, show the calculations, and show using our numbers and our calculations which one is more cost effective. You're asked to justify your choice using calculations. So you can't just say this one is that, and this one is the cordial because it can fill that. So let's go into some more details. So let's look at this part now. So I will need to convert my milliliters to liters. There will be a need for that, or the liters to milliliters. So I don't know if, let's see which way we're gonna take it. I would want to change my liters to milliliters since I'm getting my total in milliliters. So let's look at it now. One bottle of bay juices holds 3.8 liters, all right? So I need to now find out how many milliliters that would be. And we are agreeing that that will be 3,800 milliliters. I think we're all fine with that. Now, how many bay juices will I need in order to feed all those persons? We would divide the 31,500 milliliters by 3,800 so I can know how many 3.8 liter bottles will be needed in order to serve all 90 persons. Are we all clear on that? Give me a thumbs up if you're clear on the calculation so far. Let's see some thumbs up. If you're not clear, let me know. If you're not clear, let me see a thumbs down. If you're clear, give me a thumbs up. Let's see some reactions as to whether you're clear on our calculation so far. Good, I'm seeing some thumbs up. Excellent. If they're not clear, it's fine to have a thumbs down or a frowny face. All right, good. Thanks for that feedback. Appreciate it. So how many bottles of bay juices will I need? Talk to me about that. How will I find out how many bottles of bay juices? I'm going to have to do some kind of division, and I'm seeing an answer for 9 bay juices. Let's see if we're going to agree with that 9. Let's do that division and see if we now notice that. Do you see me writing 31,500? Can anyone tell me why I'm using how I arrived at using 315? Who would like to tell me how I arrived at 315? What did I do to come down to that smaller number? Any thoughts? And why do you think I did it? I cancel out the zeros. Kind of know. I know what you mean, but we have to be careful. So we have to work out, be careful that with the use of the word cancel. We know what we're using is that we're dividing both numbers by 100, but we have that 100 as a common factor. And so we loosely use the term canceled. So we divided both values by 100, giving us smaller numbers to handle, which makes it easier for us. And these are some of the strategies you use as you do your calculations. All right, so since both are multiples of 100, we can divide both numbers by 100, giving us smaller numbers to work with. So now we end up with 315 divided by 38. Let's do that quick division. We won't put the answer yet. Quickly do that division and let me see in the chat what you got. Do that division quickly and tell me what you got. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to allow you to do that. Let's do that division. And once you've done it, you tell me how many. Did you get 9? That's interesting, but we can look at it some more. Do the division and tell me what you get, please. I won't disagree with the 9 or agree, but I will wait. I'll hold my comment for now. Mona Prep says 8 bottles. Misha Harris, I think you're what? George Headley, is it? Harborview Primary says 8. Misha, I think from George Headley says 9. Mona Prep says 8. All right. I'm getting some answers here, some responses here.
But no one has answered the question that you asked. You didn't ask them about the number of bottles. When they divide 315 by 38, what did they get? That's what we want.
What did you get when you divide 8? Did you get 8? Did you get exactly 8 or exactly 9? Talk with me about that. What did you get when you divided 315 by 38? 10, I'm seeing 10, 9, 8. Are we doing a countdown? All right.
And I'm seeing 8.3 in the chat.
I'm seeing 8.3. All right. Thank you for that feedback. I appreciate that. So we are going to get 8 as a whole number portion. So let's share that with them, Mrs. Williams. So we'll have 8. And when we finish that, we're going to get 8 and a remainder of 11. Now, can I get 11/38 of a bottle? No, I can't. But if I only bought 8 bottles, would that be enough? Would that be enough? Would 8 bottles be enough? No, so we'd have to use the 9 bottles. So students, in real life, we know in rounding, we learn that when we have less than a half, we round down. When we have more than a half, we round up. But in practical situations like these, where we're buying things like bottles that come in whole containers, you can't get a fraction of a bottle. So you'd have to get the next whole number. So although we have less than a half, we'd have to get 9 bottles. If I stopped at 8, I wouldn't have enough to feed everybody, would I? And so we can't use the 8. We have to use the next whole number, which would be the 9. These are some little details you have to look out for, boys and girls. And colleague teachers, remind our students of that they have to look out, although they are little, don't round down in this case. I need the next whole number, which should be 9 bottles. So though I have 8, remainder 11, or 8 and 11, 38, it means that I'll need 9 bottles. So you have to be careful with that 8. I can't round down, because if I only buy 8 bottles, some people won't get any drink. So I'll have to buy 9 bottles, in which case I will have some left over. But if I buy 8, some persons won't get. So we'll have to buy 9. Great. So 9 bottles of bay juices would be needed. Not sure how we got 11, but we'll come back to that. Content gap, share with me how you got that 11. Let's see if we can see where that 11 came from. Would you like to share? Okay, you're making a correction. All right, fine. Thank you. So let's move on now. So we're all agreeing that we're going to use 9 bay juices, 9 bottles of bay juices. So what's the cost of the bay juices then? They said one 3.8 liter bottle costs $1,100. And so the 9 bottles will cost us $9,900. So that's our bay juices cost. So you're using the information that they gave you in the table to find out the cost of the bay juices. So we can put down the cost of the bay juices. We have that worked out. Now let's go to the cordial now. Because remember, we're justifying our decision using calculations. We can't justify until we've looked at both and compared. And we can't jump to a conclusion until we've done a calculation to make a decision. So let's look at the cordial now. All right, so we can have, it tells us that a 3.8 liter bottle of cordial that costs $3,000 rather will make drink to fill a 19 liter igloo. 19 liter igloo, but will a 19 liter igloo feed everybody? Type a yes or no for me. Will a 19 liter igloo be able to feed all the persons? Type a yes or no for me. Will 19 liter feed? No. I see a no from Praise Tabernacle. No. I agree with you. No, because we need how many liters? We need 31.5 liters. So 19 won't be enough. I'm going to need some more. All right. So I need 31.5 liters. So that means I'll have to make up with that. So let's start that calculation then. So I know my 90 liters are not enough. I'm going to need some more. So
30,100.
Pardon me?
30,100.
30,100. Tell me about that 30,100. Where did that number sounds very magical. Where did it come from? Where did that 30,100 come from? Tell me about it. If it takes too long, I'll have to move on.
So I add 80 times 6 and I get 86. And then I multiply 350 times 8 equal to 30,100.
All right, so I hear that number, but be careful of that. We already did that calculation. I have a mistake there. It should have been 83 and 7. So that change wasn't made. Sorry about that. It should be 90 persons. So there's an error there. Remember, we apologize for that error. We're working with 90 persons, remember, and we said that the total was 31,500 milliliters. So we're still working with what we had before. So we do apologize for that error. We missed that one. So remember, we agreed that the 19 liters is not enough. And now we have to convert that 19 liters of drink to milliliters. So, and then we're gonna do, why am I subtracting the 19,000 from the 31,500? Why? It's kind of in front of us, but why am I doing it? You know the 19 liters isn't enough. To find out how much more we need. Very good. When you need to know how much more is needed, you are going to find a difference because you're trying to find a gap. How much more do I need to make it? I needed to make it up from 19 liters to the 31.5 liters.
From
19.
okay.
Close your mic, please, just a second. So we're going to end up having 12,500 milliliters needed. Everyone clear on that one? So let's move ahead. So we know now that we need 12,500 milliliters more to give everybody a drink. All right, let's look at that now. Now, so I've used a 3.8 liter bottle, and a 1 liter bottle will make 5 liters of cordial. 5 liters of cordial is, of course, 5,000 milliliters of cordial. Good, or drink, I should say. So, how many 1 liter bottles will we need then? We'd have to do a division, as we mentioned earlier on. We have to do a division, telling us that we're going to need 2.5 bottles. Can we get half a bottle? No. Again, what will I need to do? I will need to round up, or I shouldn't say round up really, I will have to use the next whole number, which would be 3. So that means I need 3 1 liter bottles of cordial, 3 1 liter bottles. I apologize for the noise in my background. I hope you're hearing me clearly. So
We're hearing you clearly, no disturbance.
So we have 3 1 liter bottles as well as a 3.8 liter bottle. So that means that's all the cordial we're gonna need. A 3.8 liter bottle as well as 3 1 liter bottles. So let's look at the cost of the cordial now. Let's look at the cost of the cordial. So the cost of the cordial is going to be 3,000 for the 2 liter bottle, the 3.8 liter bottle rather, and 2,400 for the 3 1 liter bottles. So when I add my 3,000 to my 2,400, I'm gonna get 5,400. So that's another error that we missed. It's amazing how you can miss things even when you look at it so many times. So my cost of my cordial is gonna be $5,400. Are we all clear on that? You can just so we're gonna have the cordial costing us $5,400, and how much did we say the bay juices cost then? Did anyone write that down in their notebook? How much did the bay juices cost? Anybody remembers? All right, we remind you. We can go to the next slide, miss. Or when maybe Miss is correcting it on the next slide for me. Let's go to the next slide. We know that the bay juices cost 9,900. We agreed on that. And we're finding out that our cordial will cost us 5,400.
But we need to make that correction.
Thank you for that, Pablo Primary. So it's $9,900. So remember your units, $sign. So the cordial costs us 5,400 because it's 3,000 plus the 2,400. So which one would you choose then? The choice is clear, isn't it? We would choose the cordial because it costs about half the cost of the bay juices. So we have to show our calculation. Beg your pardon?
What's the cost of the cordial? So we can write it
the
here.
The cordial works out to be 3,000 plus 2,400. So that's 5,400. $5,400. It's $5,400 for the cordial. So when I use the cordial, and you probably will see if you're a part of Sabbath school or Sunday school, or you're going on a trip as a class, maybe when you're going on a class trip, you'll probably see your teacher buying those gallon bottles and then mix the drink from it. It's because usually it works out cheaper, more cost effective to use your cordial than to buy the pre-bottled juices. So in real life, that's a real life context, we're now realizing that because we use the cordial, it is less expensive and we get the same kind of good flavor of drink that we would need. And so I would make my choice based on the cost, that the cordial costs $5,400 as opposed to $9,900. But you couldn't just jump and say, we're going to buy the cordial just like that. You have to show and justify using your calculations. You must justify using your calculations. All right, so the cordial costs $5,400, so I would choose the cordial because it's less expensive. It's about half the cost. And so that would be my choice. So we've set up our refreshment area. We've done our journey and we're now back home. We've had our drink. We're back at Bayview Primary. So, boys and girls, teachers, do we have any questions? Is there anything you'd like for us to go over? Any questions that you'd like to have clarify anything? And before we ask you to do an evaluation of our workshop, are there any questions that you'd like to ask? Anything you'd like to add? Anything you learned that is new that you'd like to, what we would call a takeaway that you had from today's webinar? Share with us, type in the chat or open your mic, and then we're going to share our evaluation link and allow you to evaluate this workshop, because we do need to hear from you what you gained, how you found the workshop, and what are some things you'd want to learn next time. Boys and girls, teachers, colleague teachers, thank you for joining us. If there are no questions, we're going to ask you to just share your feedback. We're going to share the evaluation link in a minute in the chat, and we will work on that. So one student said they learned how to properly do time. Excellent, very good. Happy for that. There's a link to the evaluation form in the chat. Mr. Lima just posted it for us. So, and remember, if you came in late and didn't register, please go to the registration link as well to type in so we can get a proper record of our schools. And again, for your revision purposes, there's this webinar, and there may be others as well. We can now go to our YouTube channel, and we're encouraging